Greetings, dear friends, foes, family, and wayfarers of the internet land. My name is Jakob, and in today's superfluous guitar music theory program lesson exercise extravaganza, we will be taking a very close look at the V-2 chords of Ted Greene's V chord system. We're going to talk about how to use them, how to play them, how to learn them, how to understand them, how to rock them, and how to roll them. All right, let's get into it. Once again, the V in V chord system stands for voicing group, and the V system is a means of organizing chords in terms of their density. That is, how compact are the notes of the chord? How close together are they? Are they in a closed room or an open space? In a previous video, we explored V1 chords, which are the most dense chords. It's now on to V2, which we could say are the second most dense chords. So how are V2 chords different? Well, whereas V1 chords were voiced in root position 1, 3, 5, 7, with V2 chords, we move the third of the chord up an octave, giving us the root position voicing of 1, 5, 7, 3. This, that's a V1 major 7. We're going to take the third and put it up an octave, and that's going to necessitate a whole new kind of situation. All right, V1 major 7, V2 major 7. Rock and roll. Now, these chords, these V2 chords, in my experience, are wonderfully useful voicings with a beautiful and strong sound. The V2 chords that I think most players are familiar with are on the A, D, G, and B string. For instance, this major 7 voicing, or this dominant 7 voicing, or this minor 7 voicing. Here are the inversions of a V2 major 7 chord on this string set. Now, unlike V1 chords, every inversion of a V2 chord is within reach and offers us some wonderful harmonic possibility. For instance, I may voice lead a chord progression alternating between V2 chord inversions. For instance, something like a 2, 3, Now remember, voice leading simply means moving from one chord to the next as efficiently and gracefully as possible, with as little movement in the chord voices as necessary. So here's an example of voice leading some V2 chords between root position inversion and second inversion. How about a blend of voice leading and V2 chords taken through the blues? 1, 2, 3, and. Now, of course, to really develop a vocabulary of V2 chords, we've got quite a bit to deal with, but it really is all feasible and doable. With these V2 chords, we are now using a set of harmonies in which every inversion is playable, and not only playable, but even potentially practical, possibly, perhaps, pleasantly enough. So, can we learn a large vocabulary of V2 chords in every inversion? Root, first inversion, second inversion, third? We absolutely can. And this is how I like to approach doing that and really developing a chordal vocabulary. So an exercise I'll do is I'll begin with a V-2 chord and a particular inversion. Right? So let's say we'll start with a root position V-2 chord. And from that starting chord, I'll cycle through an array of V-2 4-note chords in that particular inversion. The selection and succession of the 4-note chords is up to you and is something you can experiment with and explore. For the purposes of this example, I'm going to start with a diminished 7th voicing and move from major sounds on through dominant sounds and then into minor sounds. I like to begin with the diminished 7th voicing because each inversion of this chord is the same shape. And beginning the exercise from this chord and its uniform shape throughout the inversions can help us to internalize particular characteristics of each inversion group, right? Particular characteristics of root position chords, particular characteristics of first inversion voicings, etc. Just as a brief example, right? C diminished 7, first inversion, second inversion, third inversion, back to root position, right? All the same shape, handy dandy. And then just to get an idea of what I mean is C diminished 7, how about to C6? Okay, first inversion C diminished 7 to C6. Next inversion of the diminished 7 to C6. And find the last inversion or third inversion. And finally we're back. Right, so noticing I'm starting with the same shape, that diminished 7 shape, and moving to the same chord, a C6 chord, right? But noticing the change in shape as I go through those inversions. And to really dial that in, you want to name the intervals. You want to identify where is what. Where is what, right? This is the root, the 5th, the 7th, and the 3rd of this respective chord. The 1, the flat 5, the diminished 7, the flat 3. And this is now the 1, the 5, the 6, and the 3. Double, diminished 7, 6. Same thing? Sort of. Same place, same button, same fret. Same thing? No. So that's just a small example, right? But we can take this further. As we go through this, it's up to us to solve the construction of each chord, right? And to identify what interval is where. Doing this practice really helps us with note identification, interval identification, really helps facilitate an understanding of chord construction. And I think the most important thing about this practice is it really helps us get a sense of the particular and unique way chords and particular inversions show up on the fretboard. Each inversion, regardless of the chord quality, has a particular tendency or look or shape. This practice helps us get acquainted with those particulars. So here's an array of V-2 chords in root position. Starting with C diminished 7, 2, 3, and C6, major 7, major 7 augmented, major 7 flat 5 or diminished 5th. I said diminished 5th this time because I like circles. C7, 7 augmented, 7 diminished 5th, minor major 7, minor 7, minor 6, minor 7 flat 5. Okay, now, once again, as you're going through this, you want to do your due diligence and name something. How about in this run through, we name the interval, right? 1, flat 5, diminished 7, flat 3. Then to C6, 1, 5, 6, 3, right? And start learning these relationships, right? Noticing where's the 5th, right? What is the characteristic of root position chords, right? On to major 7, right? Notice everything's staying put except this voicing moving up to the major 7. Right? Now the augmented, the sharp 5. Where's the 5th? 1, 5. I gotta sharpen. The 3 other notes stay the same, right? Now a diminished 5th, right? The root, the 7 and the 3 stay the same. I gotta flat the 5. Then good old C7 right there. Right? Sharp 5, C7. Flat 5, C7. C minor major 7. dropping the major 7 to minor 7, minor 6, finally minor 7 flat 5 or half diminished. Right, we're just getting acquainted with a bunch of root position V2 chords and see which ones you like. See if there's a particular shape here you've never seen or imagined before. Well, like that C7 augmented. Great sound, right? If you like that sound, practice moving it around. Okay? So then I'll continue this practice with each inversion, right? Starting with that diminished 7 situation, right? Here's diminished 7. C diminished 7. Now I'm going to first inversion of that chord, and I'm taking note. Where's the root? It's here now. Where's the third? It's on the bottom. Where's the fifth? It's on top. And where's the 7 of the chord? It's right there on the D string, right? So root, third, fifth, 7. Taking stock of that, right? And then I'll move through the same set of chords in the same order, and I'll take note of how things are changing, right? To C6, major 7. Here's a great shape, it's hard. Major 7, sharp 5, stretchy. Then I'm going to diminish that 5th. Here comes C7, very important shape here. This is a good one. Going to raise that 5th. Going to diminish that 5th. Minor, major 7, very stretchy. I did major 7 first, but I got to flat that 3rd. That's a tough one. Beautiful though. Minor 7, a little more within reach. Minor 6, right? And as you do these, you want to, see, like in that situation from minor major 7 to minor 7 to minor 6, keeping track of the voice that's moving, right? The major 7 drops down to the minor 7, drops down to the 6. Everything else stays the same, right? We're building our intervallic understanding, right? So that was a bunch of first inversion V2 chords, and we want to take stock of some of the particulars of first inversion shapes, first inversion V2 shapes, right? So what I'm noticing a lot is, like, notice for all of the major 7 chords, right? The 3rd and the major 7. It's a perfect 5th, right? And it remains through a lot of them, like that. And you've got the relationship of the 7 to the root in the middle. Really just trying to get a sense of the characteristic of first inversion chords, the tendency of the shape, right? Of course, every one of the chords is a different shape, but there is there is an underlying architecture just because of this particular interval stack, right? Of 3, major 7, root 5th. There's a particular kind of somewhat amorphous but constant shape, a strange attractor of a chord shape, we could say. So moving on to second inversion, right? We started in root, first inversion, which means the 3rd's on the bottom. Second inversion, now the 5th is on the bottom. Let's take a look. All right, C6. And notice, what is it with the 5th on the bottom? Sharping the 5, flatting the 5, and I'm back to the natural 5, C7. Now C7 with a sharp 5, C7 with a flat 5, C minor, major 7, minor 7, tracking that 7th note, that 7th down to the 6th, and we'll finish with this minor 7 flat 5. Now one thing about second inversion chords is often if the 5th is in the chord, you're going to get this on the bottom, that double stop, right? That perfect 4th of the 5th to the root. And that's a persistent quality of these particular shapes. Okay. And finally, on to third inversion, in which the 7th is on the bottom. Diminished 7, 6, major 7, augmented major 7, 7 flat 5, 7 flat 5, C7, C7 augmented, diminished 5th, minor major 7, minor 7, minor 6, and we'll finish with half diminished. So now we've got the 7th, or the 4th note of the chord on the bottom, right? This interval stack is 7, 3, 5, 1. And these can be a little more dissonant, especially, you know, having a major 7 on the bottom of a chord can be a little jarring. But these are some very cool shapes, and a particular characteristic I want you to notice, especially with the dominant chords, is when you have the flat 7 in the bass, the flat 7 to the 3rd, that's going to give you that tritone there, right? This sort of thing. That tritone, flat 7, 3, right? And just seeing that, that's one of the characters of this particular inversion set. And of course, if you make that 7 major, get that. Anyway, good on you if you're still with me. So now on to the next string set. We're going to do the same darn thing, but on the D, G, B, and E string. So here we go. I would say these are relatively common shapes, and they should be in your bag of tricks if they aren't already. So if we're starting with C diminished 7, 1, 2, ba-da, ba-da-da. And remember, as you practice this, you want to do your due diligence, you know, notice what interval you're changing, name the interval, and even maybe more importantly, honestly, or just as importantly, is can you name the notes of the chord? Can you spell the chord? Spell the chord. On to the first inversion set. A 1, a 2, a ya-ba-da-ba-doo. We got it. C6, major 7, 7 sharp 5, flat 5, 7, sharp 5, flat 5, minor major 7, minor 7, minor 6, half diminished. Good luck. I know it can seem absurd, right? Don't worry, stick with me, because it is absurd. This is all absurd. All right, so now we're going to second inversion, right? So the 5th is in the bass, and instead of going way up here, I'm going to go on down here, octave reduce the thing, a 1, 2, and remember, we're conceiving of this as C diminished 7 in second inversion. So where's the root? Where's the 3rd? Where's the 5th? Where's the 7? Right, the root, the flat 3rd, the flat 5th, the double flat 7, right? That's going to persist through every inversion. Here we go. 1, a 2, a take me 2, C6. We got ba-da, ba-da, major 7, sharp 5, flat 5. These are fun. Dominant, dominant sharp 5, dominant flat 5, minor major 7, tricky, minor 7, minor 6, half diminished. I'm just fooling around there, but moving along, right? Moving along. Doomba doomba. Here we go with third inversion, right? And remember, starting with that quote-unquote C diminished 7, right? And ask yourself, where's the root? Where's the flat 3rd? Where's the flat 5? Where's the double flat 7? Can you spell the thing? Where's C? Where's E flat? G flat? B double flat? Which will now turn into A as we turn it into a C6. 2, a 1, 2, ba-da, and major 7, major 7 augmented, major 7 diminished 5th, dominance, dominant sharp 5, dominant flat 5, minor major 7, minor 7, minor 6, half diminished. Anywho, we got to keep going, right? It's now time for the final string set, the EADG string. We're going to do the same thing, the V-2 chords, all those inversions, all these shapes, all these chords, oh my god. But on the bottom 4 strings, EADG. And I would say that this is my favorite set of V-2 chords on this string set. Like, this string set is the juice. The lower strings give this relatively dense harmony, a lot of body, a lot of bass, and a lot of presence. It's a real beautiful timbre and texture. I'd also say that these particular voicings on this string set are the least known and least used, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. Anyway, let's have a look and listen. Once again, starting with C diminished 7 root position, C6, major 7, major 7 flat, major 7 sharp 5, major 7 flat 5, C7, augment that 5th, diminish that 5th, minor major 7, flat that 7, flat that 7 to the 6, half diminished, turn it into a 2-5. And then you got to go on to the next inversion, right? Here we go. So now we're in first inversion of C diminished 7. Can you find your intervals, find your notes, right? Where's the root? Where's the 3rd? Where's the 5th? Where's the 7 or the diminished 7, right? The corresponding reality of the harmonic truth of the situation, okay? And let's move through our chords. 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, and major 7. Beautiful chord here. This can seem ridiculous. It's worth getting this one in your hands. Sharpen the 5. Part of the reason these are so beautiful is you have that major 7 buried in the middle of the voicing. Major 7 flat 5. Now we're going to flat the 7, get our dominant chord. Sharp the 5. Flat the 5. Now look at this one. You ready? Minor major 7. Stretchy town. Minor 7. Minor 6. Half diminished. All right. Almost done here. Good on you for sticking it out. Here we go. All right, so now we are in second inversion, right? Thinking of this as C diminished in second inversion, right? So what does that mean? That means the root's here, the 3rd is here, the 5th is on the bottom, and that diminished 7 is up top. All right, let's run through them. A 1, a 2, a 2, 3, and noticing the quality of the 5th being on the bottom. 7 augmented, 7 diminished 5th. Look at this minor major 7 voicing. Great. Minor 7, minor 6, and half diminished. Oh, is that? Yeah, that's right. And yeah, 5th on the bottom, important. 5th on the bottom is important, okay? We want to know that one. And with this particular inversion of this particular kind of chord, the V-2 chord, often we can use double stops. As I mentioned earlier, we can use double stops on the bottom of the chord, right? The 5th and the root. Right? Well, that's sometimes you're going to have to use 2 fingers, but other times that middle finger is getting both those notes. Right? Sometimes that's the way to go. Other times, like I'm having trouble with this voicing as a double stop, you know, but you can learn them all really as double stops if you dare. Some are going to be trickier than others, but these, very good to have that in your bag. All right, finally, we are at the third inversion of the C diminished sound. And we're here. We're going to octave reduce it because I don't want to go way, way, way up there. So we're here. Love this body. Gotta love your body. And you can love the body of these chords. All right? Let's run them. A 1, a 2, a ba ba da do. Diminished. 6. Major 7. 7 augmented. Major 7 flat 5. Dominant. I know it's muddy down here, guys. But we gotta live with the mud. You gotta get in the mud if you want the lotus. Right? Okay. A dominant sharp 5. Dominant flat 5. Minor major 7. See the augmented triad in that? Minor 7. C minor 6. 6 is on the bottom. And half diminished. Okay. Now I know this can seem like a lot to tackle, and some of you probably don't even play football. So here's another route. Pick a particular chord quality, say a minor 6 quality, and pick an inversion, say root position, right? Now move this particular chord quality in fourths and voice lead the thing, sticking to that string set. When I say voice lead the thing, that means move to the next minor 6 chord as efficiently as possible, with as little movement in the voices as possible. So that would give you this. Could say I just went through every minor 6 chord in first inversion and second inversion on the string set, right? C minor 6, F minor 6, E flat minor 6, E flat minor 6, A flat minor 6, etc., right? Now we're doing this just to really drive home a sense of a C minor 6 shape or chord, right? We're getting acquainted with C minor 6 all over the fretboard. Right? We're just driving home C minor 6, right? Instead of sort of as the flip side of the previous exercise, instead of going through every chord quality, we're just hanging with one chord quality and taking a closer examination of it. Now, as we do this particular exercise, we want to keep track of the movement of voices between chords. We want to ask ourselves and answer, where does the root go? Where does the third go? Where does the fifth go? Where does the sixth go, in this case, or the seventh go, right? Where does the fourth note of the chord go? For minor 6 chords moving in this particular way, that is perfect fourths, right? Minor 6 chords moving in perfect fourths, notice that only one pitch carries over from chord to chord. The root of the initial chord becomes the fifth of the following chord, right? The root of that C minor 6 becomes the fifth of F minor 6. And we want to do that analysis with every pitch, right? The flat 3 of the minor 6 drops down a half step to the 6 of the F minor 6. Right? The fifth of the C minor 6 drops down a whole step to the root of the F minor 6. And the sixth of the minor 6 chord, of the C minor 6 chord, drops down a half step to the flat 3 of the F minor 6. Right, this is how you get way more acquainted with harmony, is really become conscious of and examine every voice of the chord and how it's moving to the next chord, right? Every voice, to become more intimately aware of how every voice is moving. And if you do that with every voice, then all of a sudden the chord just has a more solid ground of understanding underneath it, okay? Notice that in this particular case, we are alternating between root position and second inversion chords. That's just the nature of the exercise. If we're going to do this kind of movement in fourths and voice lead it this way, it's just what happens because of math and the universe and stuff. If we were to begin this particular exercise in first inversion, then we would be alternating between first inversion minor 6 chords and third inversion minor 6 chords. And that would look something like this. And we're back to C minor 6, a whole octave lower. Okay, so let's do that same exact exercise, but on a different string set, and let's change the chord quality. So that was all minor 6 chords. Now let's do the same thing on the D, G, B, and E string, but we'll do major 7 chords. And that would look something like this. Starting root position, C major 7, we get running out of room here. And asking ourselves once again, how is each voice of the chord moving to the next chord, right? And noticing in this case, if we're moving major 7 chords in this way, major 7 chords in perfect fourths, in a V2 voicing, right? And, voice lead that thing, right? We want to notice that the root becomes the 5th of where we're going, right? The root of C major 7 becomes the 5th of F major 7, right? The 5th of C major 7 drops down to the root of F major 7, dropping down to the root, right? The major 7 of C major 7 drops down to the 3rd of F major 7. And the 3rd of the C major 7 becomes the major 7 of F. Rock and roll. And notice yet again, right, we're moving between root position to second inversion. So if we started this exercise in first inversion, we would be alternating between first inversion and third inversion, and that would look and sound something like this. And, that's how I would get acquainted with C major 7 voicings on this string set, right? Or whatever chord you want to get acquainted with, right? Doing this exercise with that chord is going to help you out. Now for the last example of this practice, where we're taking a V2 chord and we're voice leading the thing in fourths, let's use a dominant 7 sharp 5 chord. And we're going to do that on the E, A, D, and G string. And check out what that gives us. It's pretty cool, right? Here we go. Muddy Mud Town, and noticing what's going on here, right? Asking ourselves the same question of, how do the notes of the chord move, right? And this is a more interesting mix, because notice that, for instance, from C7 augmented to F7 augmented, not a single pitch persists. Not a single pitch persists. So what happens? Well, the root of the C7 goes up to the sharp 5, goes up a half step to the sharp 5 of the F chord, right? The sharp 5 of the C7 drops down to the root of the F7 sharp 5 chord, right? That drops down. The flat 7 of the C7 drops down to the major 3rd of the F7. is in there. And finally, the third of the C7 drops down to the flat 7 of the F7. Once again, the major third of the C7 augmented drops down to the flat 7, or rather drops down a half step to the flat 7 of the F7 sharp 5. Good on you if you're hanging with this, okay? And of course, noticing we're moving between root position, second inversion, let's do the same thing from first inversion to third inversion. And that's going to look and sound something like this. And in that particular set, I'm just noticing that chromatic movement, right? The third dropping a half step to the flat 7, which drops a half step to the third of the next chord, drops a half step to the flat 7, drops a half step to the third. And of course this was happening in the other set. It's just more obvious when it's on the bottom, just to see it and hear it, right? So anyway, this is a particularly effective practice when it comes to developing your chord vocabulary and really making sure that you have a particular chord quality in your bag of tricks. This practice also gets your hands and ears acquainted with voice leading harmonies on the fretboard and learning to see and hear and feel how particular harmonies relate and interact with one another. So if there's a particular chord quality that you really want in your bag, running that chord quality through this particular practice will greatly speed up your internalizing of that chord and its various shapes and inversions. All right, dear travelers of the internet lands, I thank you very much for being here. Please do subscribe, share, like, or subscribe, like, share. Perhaps share, subscribe, like. You could share, like, subscribe, or like, subscribe, share, or like, share, subscribe. Really, whatever order you wish, or neither, or none, or one. And if you are eager and ready to truly develop your playing and to take your musical understanding to a radically new place of possibility and freedom, click the link in the description below to explore the possibility of working with me much more closely. Thank you again for being out there. You can also send me a tip to my offshore bank account via a link below. Come visit me in the Cayman Islands. If you sent enough, send you my private jet, my G6 jet. I'll send you the G6 jet. I will. Anyway, thanks again for being here, and most joyous musical ventures to you and yours. Buchu.